Hey everybody, it's Ben Jameson. Welcome to Church Free Spirituality. So for this week and the next 2 weeks after, I want to talk about love. See, love is something that we often don't look at as a spiritual practice, but it really is something that we can engage in consciously and practice. So from the spiritual context of life, the reason that we want to practice love so much is that Spirit is love, God is love. The idea of that creator, that energy, whatever you want to call it, is that it's in its nature, in its essence, it is unconditional love and unconditionally loving. And we, as expressions of that, as emanations of that one Spirit, are exactly the same as it in that regard. You know, if you like Bible stuff, made in the image and likeness of God, right? If God is unconditional love, and we are made in the image and likeness of that, then we are unconditional love as well. It may not seem like that. We may have covered that up a whole lot, and it doesn't feel very loving a lot of times out in the physical world. But the true nature of who and what you and I are is unconditional love. And so as we practice loving, as we take a conscious effort to create a practice of loving in our life, we can begin to connect with that energy more. And who doesn't want to feel more loving more of the time anyway, right? So we're going to look at 3 different types of love. We're going to look at what I like to call impersonal love this week. Next week we'll talk about direct love. And the week after that we're going to look at unconditional love. So let's start with this impersonal love. So if we take the idea that God is all there is, Spirit is all there is, there's only this one presence and one power existing as all life, and that presence and power is unconditional love, and so am I, what that means is that so are you, and so is everybody else. Regardless of how we act in the moment, the essence of what we are is that loving presence. And so from impersonal love, what we can do is we can practice loving somebody simply because they exist. We can ignore everything they've said, everything they've done, everything they've thought about, felt, doesn't matter. All we're looking at is the fact that you exist. And since you exist, and I exist, I love you. It's not a personal thing. It's not a weird physical connection type thing. It's just basic, you exist, and so I love you. This is really easy to practice with people you don't know. Walking down the street, seeing somebody on the other side of the street, just simply look at that person and do your very best to call into your awareness the understanding that that person is an expression of unconditional love, whether they recognize it or not. They are love in expression. They may have covered it up, but that's the true nature of who they are. And so we can love that person simply by saying to ourselves internally, I love you, Spirit. Because if God is all there is, Spirit is all there is, that one life, then it's that life showing up in that other person, whether they recognize it or not. Now, if I recognize it, that benefits me. Because I then get to share the energy of love, which means it has to go through me before I can share it. So it comes to me, benefits me, and then I share it energetically by simply intentionally sending that loving silently in my own consciousness out to that other person. I love you simply because you exist. You exist, and so you must be valuable. You exist, and so there must be a reason and a purpose for your existence, unless you believe that the universe is not purposeful, which I certainly believe it is. And in the spiritual context, the universe is very, very purposeful. So, the other side of this is that you got to practice it with yourself as well. You exist. And so you can practice loving yourself simply because you exist. Forget about all of your fears and worries, everything you think you've done wrong, everything you think you've done right, any reason that you have to love yourself or not to love yourself. Get rid of all of that and simply practice loving yourself just because you exist. I exist. That's pretty cool. There's a tree outside. I can see the sky. There are animals that I get to interact with. There are people that I get to share with. I get to breathe. Go ahead and take a conscious breath. Just take one conscious breath right now. Just stop and take a deep breath and do it consciously. Isn't that lovely? You exist. You get to do that. So practice this next week, this impersonal loving. Find anybody you can to intentionally direct unconditional loving, not unconditional loving, impersonal loving. Recognizing that they exist. You exist, I love you. I exist. I love me. You don't have to do anything, don't have to be anything or say anything. Simply because the light and the love that is Spirit chose to express as you and as me, I love you for that and nothing else. That's Church Free Spirituality for this week, friends. Thank you so much for checking us out. Be sure to comment, like, share, subscribe on Facebook. If you have any questions, put those down in the comment section. We'll have a conversation. If there's anything else you want to know more about, put that down there too. I'll do another video on that. And if you want to go even deeper, make sure you head over to Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, anywhere you get books, and ask for Church Free Spirituality, how to craft a spiritual practice beyond the bounds of religion. Thanks, friends. Have a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.